Hello. Today we're going to be talking about measurement, and the first thing that I want to do is for you to even just take a little quick break and think about why do we measure things? Okay, so what is the purpose of measuring things? Why do we do that? Why did we start doing that? And why is this such an important thing to us? Okay, hopefully you had a chance to think about that. Maybe write down some of your thoughts. And you know, I think that probably measurement. One of the reasons that we measure things is to communicate about things. To communicate about how long something is or how far something is, and to share that information with other people. And so measurement, I think we measure things so that we can tell people about something, and when we're telling somebody about something, we need to have a way of doing it so that they can understand what we're talking about. And so initially, we people would measure things like count out the number of steps it took to go this far, or maybe like measure something like with your forearm. And that's good, but what do you think is the problem with measuring things that way? Well, maybe somebody has longer arms than I do, or maybe there people have different size feet, and so there's a limitation to measuring things that way. If the type of measurements you're talking about are just approximations, if so it's about that far away, that's fine. But when we're starting to really investigate the world around us, we need to have more precision in our measurements. And so this is where systems of units come into play, because we need to have a universal system of communicating information about the physical world that doesn't rely on things that are not constant from one person to the next. So we're trying to avoid measuring things like in the length of our forearm because of what we mentioned before. Okay, and so then we come up with some systems of measurement, and in the U.S. we use the Imperial System, okay, which is the feet, the pounds, inches, miles, okay. It's very inefficient, and it's not very great for doing science, not very great for doing calculations, and definitely not very great for doing like mental math. And so another kind of system which we consider to be the SI system is the metric system, and we'll talk about SI later. So we use the metric system, okay, for science. And the metric system is really accepted everywhere in the world, except for the US and maybe like one other country. And there's a really interesting video on the Imperial System that I'll try to find for you guys and give you opportunity to watch, because it's kind of funny, and it just shows you how ridiculous the Imperial System can get. The challenge for us in using the metric system, though, is that we're just not very used to it. We talk about the mass of something in a kilogram. Well, what's a kilogram? I don't know. I could tell you like about what a pound is. The same thing with a mile versus a kilometer. In my head, I have an approximation of what a mile is, and I can think like, okay, 25 miles per hour, I understand that speed. I couldn't tell you what 25 kilometers per hour is, okay? I could tell you probably about what 20 meters per second is, but that's just because I've been practicing it teaching physics for so many years. And so a big challenge for us is just going to be getting used to the metric system, because it's not something we're as familiar with. Okay? And then to wrap up this video, the last thing I want to talk about is unit types. And this is kind of something that's important for physics. Okay? Because when we do operations, often we're combining units. So let me give you an example. An example of a unit could be like a meter. Okay? And this is what we'll call a base unit. Okay, but sometimes we'll do calculations with meters. So maybe we want to find out how fast something's going. Okay, well, generally, if you want to find the rate that something's traveling, you might divide a distance and a time. Well, distances, in this case, we're using meters to measure our distances. If we divide that distance by a time, probably in seconds, we end up with this combination of units, okay? And this combination of units is called a derived unit, okay? Because it comes from some derivation that we did, some calculation we did, okay? And then there's some very complex derived units such as a joule, okay, a watt, um, a newton. These ones are all kind of related, but these are all fairly complex derived units that come from multiple calculations. And we'll get into all those down the road here, okay? Hopefully you're familiar with some of those. If not, it's okay. But anyway, so these are all examples of derived units where meters or seconds or grams or kilograms are all examples of like a base unit or like a kind of like a fundamental unit. Okay? So this will wrap up our video on units. Think about any questions you have and write them down, and take a minute to kind of reflect on it and make a note of something that you learned from this video.